The fit and sizing is something we're all concerned about when buying at a distance. I decided it was time to get a new pair of cycling shoes. Shoes that were more compatible with the flat pedals that I use on this bike, my Specialized Turbo Vado. As is usual for me, I wanted good value, so I went to AliExpress. In this video, I'll give you a quick overview of the shoes that I purchased and how they've performed. I'll also cover the fit and sizing, which is something important with mail order shoes, particularly when they're coming halfway around the world.
If you go to the AliExpress website and search for cycling shoes, you'll find there's a huge amount of choice. For that reason, the search can take a little while to find what you want, but you'll almost certainly find what you need. After some searching, I found these shoes, which are available in a number of different colours, sole styles and sizes. They are unbranded though. However, the website did show quite a lot of information about how they were constructed and in particular on sizing. I ordered this black variant with the flat soles. Fit and sizing is something we're all concerned about, particularly when we're buying via mail order. I'll focus more on that later. I used the supplied table to determine I needed a size 47. I ordered the shoes. They were slightly higher priced than shown here, £27.19. However, once I took into account various discounts and coins, I only paid £20.48. 8 days after placing the order, I received this package. Like many AliExpress orders, it was delivered in very basic packaging, plastic bag and bubble wrap. So if you want a fancy box, this is not the place to order from. Despite the minimal packaging, the shoes were delivered undamaged. My initial impressions were that they weren't the highest quality, but there again, they weren't bad either. It looked like I got what I expected and paid for. The materials on the uppers look quite good. There were some ventilation holes in the top surface as well as some meshing to help with cooling. The hole where your foot goes in and the tongue had quite an amount of padding on it, which suggests they will be comfortable. The flat sole should make walking easy, and this grey insert with its texture on it should help grip the pedals, at least until the texture wears off. The shoes are closed and adjusted using this boa type system. Now these aren't real boa adjusters, but to be honest they feel just as good as the genuine ones I have on my Shimano RX8 shoes. Although these are new and the ones on my Shimano shoes are well over a year old. Only time will tell whether these last or not. Having said that, these shoes have 2 adjusters on each shoe, whereas my Shimano ones only have 1 adjuster on each shoe. If the manufacturer wanted to save some cost, they could have just put 1 adjuster on each shoe. 2 adjusters are good because it means you can get a more even tightening and the user has more control over that tightening. So far, the design and construction is looking good. But are the materials and manufacturing qualities as good? The main part of the soles look as though they're made out of fairly hardish but rubberized plastic. This grey insert is a bit softer and should give a bit more grip, both on the ground and on the pedals. However, this texture will probably wear down fairly quickly and therefore it will become less effective. There's only light texturing on the sole, so these shoes won't be good on loose ground or on wet mud. The shoe soles seem to be moderately stiff. They will bend enough in order to make walking comfortable. However, the region underneath the pedal is thick enough so that one shouldn't be able to feel the pedal through the sole. This flat sole version certainly wouldn't be mistaken for an ultra stiff racing shoe. Inside each shoe there's a fairly standard textured and shaped insole. In general, the materials look pretty good and most of the stitching looks well executed. However, there are some issues that would suggest that manufacturing quality could be better. Some of the stitching wanders rather close to the edge of the uppers. Another feature that suggests that the manufacturing quality isn't quite what it should be is this part of the inner, which is stitched to this outer tongue flap. As you can see, it overhangs the tongue flap. It should have been cut off, but it hasn't been. That's on the left-hand shoe. The right-hand shoe has had it cut off, but it is slightly messy. Neither of these issues will affect the functionality and use of the shoe, but it does suggest a lack of attention to detail in their manufacture. When I refer to the fit of the shoe, I'm primarily referring to the shape. Although I have fairly large feet, they're normal in their shape, so I wasn't expecting any surprises, and I didn't get any. Overall, the shape was great. If I were to be really picky, I would have liked a little bit more room in the toe box and maybe a little more support under the arch. Sizing refers to how well the shoe fits in length and width. The seller published quite detailed tables on how to relate your foot size to the shoe size. After measuring my feet, I used these tables to determine I needed a size 47, which is the size I normally take. Having used these shoes, I find they fit perfectly. That is, they're a snug fit. If I were to order these again, I think I would probably size up to give me the extra room in the toe box, toe wiggle room, that I indicated earlier. Based on my experience, the sizing will give you a snug but accurate fit. However, for a more comfortable fit, I would suggest going half to one size up.
I've now been using these cheap AliExpress shoes for about a week. I've done some walking in them, cycling related walking that is, and cycled about 200 kilometres. I suppose I ought to cut them some slack because I only paid just over £20, or about 1/5 of the price that I paid for my Shimano RX8 shoes. So I really need to keep that price in mind. Let's start with the functional design. Overall, I think they're pretty good. That double boa type system means that the shoe can open up quite wide and it's relatively easy to put your foot in and out. Not something I can say of my Shimano RX8 shoes with its single boa. Also, the padding around that foot orifice is pretty good. There's more padding than I have on my other shoes, and that's probably one reason why I find these shoes have been comfortable so far. The sole also has just about the right amount of flexiness in it, which makes walking a bit easier and doesn't cause any problems when cycling. As for the aesthetic qualities of these shoes, well, I'll leave that for you to judge. The manufacturing quality, though, is something different. These are obviously manufactured down to a price, and there are signs of that on the shoe. Having said that, though, it doesn't look as though those quality issues are likely to affect the way the shoe works or functions. However, for me, it's something to keep an eye on. The fit and sizing is something we're all concerned about when buying at a distance. And my experience here is that using those tables and a good tape measure meant that I could get some shoes that fitted me very well. The fit was snug, yes, so not loose but not tight either. And I think if I were to buy these again, I would probably get the next size up, and that would just give me a little bit more toe wiggle room. But based on this buying experience, the sizing is pretty accurate, although I would suggest you go up one size rather than down if you fall in between sizes. As far as I'm concerned, these shoes will do what I want them to, and that's for me to ride my Specialized Turbo Vado with its flat pedals on the road, on fairly tame gravel tracks, and for touring, and I think they will do that very nicely. There is that one question mark about will they last? Are the materials and manufacturing quality up to extended use? The bottom line is, will I recommend these shoes to you? I think if you're on a budget and you want a fairly good quality set of shoes with a question mark over their longevity, then I would say almost certainly yes, go for them. But there again, they are so cheap that if they don't last very long, fast fashion arguments aside, does that really matter? If price isn't an issue for you, and you'd rather try on the shoes before you buy them, then go for a more premium brand. But my experience compared to my Shimano RX8 shoes is They're actually not really any better, apart from that question mark over how long they will last, of course. If you enjoyed this video and found it useful, please give it a thumbs up, subscribe and all that great stuff. So from me until the next video, it's goodbye.